Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soft Bites
About to
Podcast.
record a podcast without absolutely nothing prepared, which is good.
Yeah.
And only have one. We have one thing, which is the title, which is already a good place to start.
Yes, this is something that we thought about in the beginning to talk about in the live podcast that we had a few weeks ago on YouTube, and we thought about speaking about this, and then we change it to another thing. So it's going to be today that we are going to talk about it. So, and the proposition is hiring dentists. Go for good clinicians or good team players. And I was laughing before we start recording, because when you asked me why are you laughing, and I said I'm curious about your what you have to say about it. And also because I was never in the position of
having to
hire someone. I was never a clinic owner, so for me it's easy to say, oh yeah, I think you should go for the good clinician, or for the good team player, because the good team player can educate or whatever. But it's very easy for me to say that. But I think for the ones,
sorry.
yeah.
So let's say you were about to open a practice. Let's say for whatever reason, if you had to choose one, what would you choose? I know we know we don't have it. You never open a practice. You don't have experience in that. But so what would you do if all of a sudden you had to open a practice? What would
if I had to choose between good clinicians and good team players, if I had to open a practice, I think I would choose a good team player, because I think that that you can a good team player. I think that it can be trained and yes, become a good dentist. The thing, and
yes,
I think that for me, in order to be able to run a team, I think that someone with because maybe I associate, of course, a good clinician with someone with a long experience, yeah, and also with more experience, and sometimes it's more difficult when you're trying to build a team to integrate that kind of attitude. And I'm not saying it's a bad attitude, but it's more difficult to transform that in a team player. But okay, as I said, I have no experience on this, but I think I would go for the good team player.
I agree with you.
But I think that also
sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I was just going to say that I think I would invest, and this is something that I always recommend, that I would invest in really developing and defining the values and the mission of the practice, in order in the hiring process to be able to hire people that have the same values and that identify with the mission of the dental practice. So in order to be you have to be easier to the integration and for the team to work together. I think that would be my approach. And also, as we talk about so much, dentistry is very technical, and a good hand, like you say in Portuguese, right? Boa mão, a good hand can be trained, and you should train it, and you should invest in training your technical skills. And sometimes the human skills or the team skills, if you are not used to be a team player, and if you are already used to work in a certain way, then sometimes that can be harder to get. So that, I think that would be my approach. What about you? Tell me, when do you hire
Yes,
staff? We are talking about dentists, but I think that we can also, we can also take this to the other staff in a dental clinic. I mean, I know dentists, for example, for the dental nurses, that they don't want, they prefer to hire someone without experience, because it's easier to train them. If they feel that they are good team players, they prefer nurses without experience. And there are other dentists that prefer already nurses that have the experience, because they don't want to go through the process of training a nurse that can be very time confusing and very exhausting. So, but tell me, what about you on your team? What do you go? I think if
I have very strong ideas and very strong and clear opinions. Well, I'm not saying they work every time, but I have a very clear idea of what I believe to be the best for my own practice and my own life. And of course, that everybody is different, and we are all different. And it's always tricky to generalize and to give advice. But I think that the goal that we have here in this podcast is also not generalize and set strict rules, right? I think that our main goal is to make people think about it and find their own solutions for. I think that's the goal. There's something that you said that I think it's very straight to the point of what I believe also, which is you said that you can eventually train good people to become good clinicians. And I say good people because I'm assuming that people that work better as a team are generally better people, let's say. I mean, more easygoing people, more human people, people that they have developed more human more social skill eventually. Of course, this is all very complex. And whenever we are making this duality of better clinicians and better team players, we are thinking that sometimes a good clinician is not a good team player, or a good team player is not a good clinician. Of course, all sorts of combinations are possible, and life is much more complex than this. But for the sake of the discussion, let's make this duality here, because I think it's important for the discussion. So one thing that you said, and I agree with you, which is good team players, they can eventually be trained to become good clinicians, while the opposite is a little bit more tricky. Because as you said, good clinicians are usually, and when we talk about good clinicians, I mean, if the goal is for you to hire a good clinician, you are talking about someone more experienced, right? And it doesn't mean that that is not something valuable. And sometimes, and I know some practices that really focus on good clinicians, especially like premium practices or high-end practices, like that do some more specialized works, and they need someone for that specific position. For example, let's say like a big practice in a big city that has several associates, that is well known for the high standards, the high skills. Of course, that they want to, when someone leaves that practice, let's say if a prosthodontist leaves that practice, or if an implantologist leaves that practice, and is someone that is very experienced, of course that if they want to hire someone, it needs to be someone with also a similar level, right? And of course you need to hire a good clinician, right? So if you are replacing someone that you immediately need a big standard in terms of technical skills, you need to focus on hiring a good clinician. However, hiring good clinicians does not come without its price, and the price is that clinician if he's good, it's because he's used to work in a certain way, right? Uh, and most of the times, his way may or may not be compatible with the way that your own practice works. I'm not saying that it doesn't, it can't be a good fit. I'm saying that there needs to be a lot of conversation in terms of, I don't think, if you hire someone that has a track record in terms of technical dentistry, I think the integration needs to be very, very well thought of. I mean, conditions need to be really, really communicated. You need to have discussions and conversations. I mean, all the small details like how does it work with the scheduling? How is the relationship with the nurses? How about materials? What are the things? I think that the open conversation would be like, what are the things that you like? What are the things that you would like in this practice? So basically here we are empathizing someone that comes to your practice that is a very good clinician, then is going to start working with you. I think that an open conversation regarding what do you like and what you do not like that happens. What would make you happy here? What would you make unhappy? What would make you unhappy? And this seems like a very simple question, but I think that most people are not willing to ask this, right? Most practice owners or managers are a little bit ashamed of asking this. Look, I'm going to be very honest with you. Let's imagine that I was hiring a good dentist. So I would really like you to be honest here. So what would make you happy? What were the things that you would like to happen here for you to feel good in terms of scheduling the patients, in terms of the nurses, in terms of materials, in terms of equipment, photographic equipment, in terms of having a studio or not, in terms of do you want freedom to book the time that you want? I mean, all these small details, they would need to be thought of. And sometimes you may ask this question and the other person may say, oh, no, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm easy. So I wouldn't stop there. I would really go deep into trying to be as realistic as possible and just try to place down the worst case scenario. I mean, in an open way. So let's say, so just for the sake of the exercise, you would ask that person, what would be something that would really make you angry working here or that would place you in a bad mood? I think this conversation is very, very important, especially for someone that is an experienced clinician. And I think it should be straightforward because there's a lot of things that can go wrong. There should be like a romantic period, let's say, of testing. There should be a lot of communication to see what would be the best fit for the integration of that person in your practice. That's my advice. I'm not saying it cannot be done. I'm saying it could be done. But for example, in my personal opinion, if I would like a very good clinician at this point in time in my practice, I would either I know the person very well, either I have developed a relationship in the past with the person, so I know I have a good knowledge of what are the human skills, what is the adaptability of that person, or I would really try to communicate as much as possible and try to work out every little detail that can eventually go wrong, and to try to understand it, to try to make the person feel that we are trying our best to make the integration easy. And that in itself, to show that concern to the other person, I think it would alleviate a lot of drama, as I used to say, as I always say, because sometimes problems in dentistry, you don't see them directly. You just get people into a bad mood. They don't talk directly. And then small things become big things, all the things that we talked before in the podcast. So I think that if you think about integrating a good clinician, I'm not saying it's impossible, but either you know the person very well, or you have to have a very in-depth conversation and very detailed conversation, and having sometimes several meetings, having the person to come to the practice to see what would be the environment that the person would like to find. That would be my advice. On the other hand, yeah, sorry.
No, continue. I will tell you what I was thinking after.
For good team players, this has been my strategy so far. And also, if in the first 10 years of a practice, I think that the hiring strategies should be more focused in this sort of people. I think in the long term, I mean, if you have a practice that is more mature, like 20-year-old practice, that you cannot just replace an implantology just like that with like out of the college student or someone that is less experienced. So I think that the older the practice, the higher the need to hire a good clinician immediately to replace someone if it's needed. If you have a developing practice, and I think that the practice is into development for the first 20 years, that's what I think. I think it takes a long time to reach a point where you have a good amount of patients on a consistent basis, so that you really have a very, very, very high workload, so that you cannot incorporate someone without experience, and you need someone with a lot of experience. But for example, my practice is 20-something, and I still believe it's reaching maturity, let's say. But for the first 10 to 20 years, I think that hiring good team players, and by this I mean hiring people that can adapt and learn and grow with you, which has some good things, of course, but also has some bad things, because technically they may be more limited. But I think that hiring good team players, people that are willing to learn and grow with you, I think it makes much more sense. Because I think integrating someone into your own philosophy, or I wouldn't say even into your own, but integrating someone that is willing to grow and to participate in creating a culture within the practice, and be willing to grow within that, I think this is the best option for the first 10 to 20 years. This is what I really believe. Now, it has a drawback. I don't know if it is a drawback. For me, this is something that I really appreciate. I really like the process of contributing to someone's evolution, right? But I think you need to have some sort of a willingness to do that. I mean, I like to see my practice. It's not a big practice, but I like to see my practice as a way of human evolution for the persons that work there. What do I mean by that? I would like that my practice would be a good school to create happy humans, let's say it, or more fulfilled humans, let's say. And I think there is Simon Sinek. He has this very interesting quote that he says that the goal of a business is not to make money. The goal of a business is to create something unique in the world, something different in the world, to contribute in a given way. And of course, that in order for you to contribute, you need to make money.
He says that like the money is the gasoline of the car, right? So it's not the goal, exactly, but it's what makes the car running. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jeff Bezos, he also has something very interesting. He says that the goal of Amazon is to serve as a standard for other companies in terms of the customer service. So the thing is here, and I think this, at least for me, this is very appealing. Look at your business not only from a financial perspective, but as a place of self-expression of a given culture, that it can be can be something that you believe, or it can be just something that a group of people creates as they go through. So I think that if you have a practice where you try to implement a culture of some values that you believe, I think that if you bring less experienced people on board, I think you will have the opportunity to have an influence on them, and also to create a place where human evolution is at the core of the values. I mean, I don't know if human evolution is the best way to describe this, but I think that, so basically, I would like that my team would look at the place where they work, where, I mean, there's a place here, there's a little place of hope in the world, in a highly dysfunctional world. I don't know if it makes sense. To give a small place of hope where they can feel good, where they can trust, where they can look at other people and realize that they can trust other people. They need responsibilities, of course, but that they can trust other people. That there is something that is very positive in human potential. That's what I believe. This is what I think. So, just to finish here, I consider, I said that this would be the price that you have to pay if you hire less experienced persons. So if you hire less experienced persons, you need to develop time and energy to develop a culture and to be willing to teach and to serve as an example for other people. Because if you hire younger people, they will become what you are. And if you want them to become in a certain way, you have to behave as... So there is a sense of responsibility that you have towards that. I mean, you will have to serve as an example. The practice, the culture, the team will have to serve as an example for the persons that come in. So they will need to be, you will need to implement some standards there and some culture there.
So, and this is very interesting.
There's a lot to say.
Because, but it's very interesting, because I think that we are getting to the point, and what you said is exactly it. It's not about good clinicians or good team players. It's about you identifying what you need for your practice, what your practice need at this moment. And for that, you need to invest the time first to understand what you know, that you need to hire someone and you have the need of hiring someone, but you have to invest the time to understand what kind of professional do you need for your practice. In what phase is your practice at? Do you need someone that is with experience, that is a good clinician, so that you don't have to worry about that because you have the patients and you need to deliver? Or you need someone that you can train, and you have also the time to invest in training also, because if you have someone that does not have the experience, and also we are and again, you already said that we don't want to generalize. It's not like a good clinician equals not being a good team player, and it's not like someone without experience is a good team player, because it might not be also.
Yeah.
But when you have someone that, of course, it has less experience and maybe he's a good team player, and because you can train him, you have to have not only the time to train that person, but also you have to offer the training to that person. And when I'm saying offer, it's not like it's going to be you're going to pay him. You might even pay him courses or do some kind of deal with that person, but you have to have the knowledge that if you hire someone without the experience for your clinic, you cannot ask to that person the same thing that you ask if that person already has experience and already developed the technical abilities. Because what I observe sometimes is if you don't have this clear notion of what you said, of what your practice needs in this time, what it happens is that there will be no match. And for example, I think the Portuguese reality is going through that at this moment. It's like you have a lot of dentists, you have a lot of professionals, but then you have a lot of practices saying that they could not find the professionals to work. And I think that's because when they ask for a professional and when they hire a professional, for example, when they hire someone with less experience, they expect that person to do the same work as a person that already has experience, that is already a good clinician. So I think that what you said, it's so important. The investing the time needed in the hiring process, because you need to know exactly what you want, what your practice needs, what kind of professional do you need, what you can offer to that professional, if you have the time to invest in that professional, what kind of training you can give to that professional, what is the phase that your practice is at the moment, what you can offer and what your practice can offer, because it all comes down to that. It's not about choosing, okay, good clinician or good team players. It's about choosing what your practice needs at this moment
and can offer
time, and can offer at this moment in time. And for that, to start with the basis, what is your values and mission of your dental practice? What is your how do you expect to serve your mission?
Yeah.
How you will provide for the care that you want to give, not only to your patients but to your staff. So this is very important, and like you said, it's completely different for a practice to be 1 year old, 2 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old. It's completely different stages. And what I see, for example, in when I work with young dentists, and I work a lot with young dentists, and sometimes I have very frustrated young dentists that really want to be team players, but they are not allowed to be team players because their needs don't match the needs of the practice. Right. So what happens is that the only reason why they are still working in these practices, it's because they do the work that no one else wants to do. They do the overtime, they are always there. When they are called, they are there. But then they are not allowed to grow, and they are held responsible when they made mistakes, because they are asked to do the same services as experienced dentists, but they don't have that experience. Yeah. So there is this frustration from the practice owner that has someone that does not. Yeah, you lost.
Sorry, I lost you for a few seconds. Yeah, but I think in the recording will be.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that there's a lot of frustration between. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes down to, and what you said regarding the young dentists, I also see that a lot. They say sometimes they do some comments regarding sometimes some corporate clinics where they work. Oh, but that's not possible. Oh yeah, but you have no idea of the amount of there's just dentists or there's staff that doesn't really care about making a good treatment, or they just care about making money, or the manager limits things in such a way that sometimes the patients themselves are not very well taken care of. And this is, for me, this is something that it's very difficult for me to understand, because in my practice, this is not to brag, but this is just, it never crossed my mind that the patient's best interest was not followed. It never crossed my mind. It never crossed my mind that I think that even the way that you treat other people should be always within the realm of how would you like to be treated, right? So I think it's very important that when you do a business, any kind of a business, I think you should always try to aim to create a place of hope. That in a dysfunctional world, there can be a small micro universe where things, or at least there's an effort so that things can flow in a positive, peaceful, and calm way. I think this is very important to try to aim towards that. And of course, money is gasoline. You need to make money and you need to have patience. But I think that there needs to be a balance here, because I don't think it makes any sense. Like for myself, I think I would be miserable if I was filthy rich and if I made a disproportionate amount of money comparing to my associate. Or if they felt that in some way I would limit what they are capable of doing because I want to make more money to myself. I mean, we do organize ourselves in terms of specialties, but I at least for myself, I always want them to have as much patience as they can possibly have. I don't do any control of their agendas in terms of, oh, no, I'm going to schedule a patient so that I can make more regarding this expensive treatment. I don't think that is a good behavior. And this is just examples, because I hear millions of examples, like almost in every course or in every interaction that I have with young dentists. And it's really bad, because I at least for myself, I think that the worst thing that can happen to a young guy or to a young girl is to realize that there's no hope, there's no aim of creating a better future or a happier future. So removing that hope from young dentists, I really think
it leads them to work in fear, to start working in fear. It's because if you are not allowed to grow, if you made mistakes and you are tortured about that,
yes,
it leads you to start working in fear. You start feeling that you are not you are not evolving on you are not growing, and it makes you doubt if you are in the right profession. And I'm talking about people that only not even 1 year with experience, so where they should be experiencing and where they should be growing and learning, but they are actually shrinking. They are actually shrinking, and sometimes it's just because of the environment where they are, and because the environment where they are does not allow them to grow. And it's just like I said, sometimes it's just a matter really of matching. Is because the place where they are, it's not a place that has the space for someone that is still not a good clinician. Again, that is still on the training process. Because for you to train someone, it can take some time, and again, you need some time, and you cannot have every half an hour appointment. You cannot ask him to do everything. He has to observe a lot. He has to train a lot, and sometimes the practices where they are practices that the rhythm and the philosophy, it's not that. It just needs someone to see as much patience as needed. Yeah. And that's not the right place for someone that does not have experience, even if they are very good team players. And sometimes that's the only reason why they are still on those practices, and why those practices maintain them. It's because sometimes they do the work that no one else wants to do. especially in the schedules that no one wants, working on Saturdays, working after hours, etc. But sometimes it's just a matter of really matching the professional with the practice. And just like you said, if you lose the time to really understand your practice and to really understand the work that you are doing, that it's not only treating teeth, is much more than that, is providing an environment for a team to strive and for people to feel that they are part of something bigger.
Yes.
If someone did that work that you just described, that you do yourself, don't you think that part of the, I'm not saying that it would solve every problems of employing dentists, I think it would solve a big part of the problems.
I'm not saying that I do anything better or worse than anyone else, of course.
But you do it. It's not better or worse, Andre, but you do it.
Yeah. But yes, but I could not. But it's I would be lying if that is not something that is a central part of my professional life, which is so let's frame it this way. So we hear a lot. We hear lots of stories of how older dentists treat younger dentists, like older practices, sometimes not very fair conditions of work, like low wages, not a very ethical attitude sometimes. So why would people do that? Why does that happen? Let's try to analyze that. So from my point of view, when I think about it, I would say that, well, maybe these people, the financial part is an essential part for them. They want to make all the money for themselves. And again, I think they are thinking it all wrong, because if you don't delegate, in the long term, I think you're screwed, basically. I think you'll eventually have some issues if you don't delegate. So I don't think that the money may make sense in the beginning. I mean, yes, if I do the work myself, I will make more money. If I don't delegate that much, I will make more money. But I think that is a wrong way of thinking. I think that sooner or later you realize that, especially if you want to make more money in long term, you'll have to delegate, because especially if you want to create a business that you can eventually sell, or that you can eventually work less and have some other people there working for you. So I don't think that the financial reason, it may be appealing in the beginning, but I don't think that's a valid reason in the long term. The other thing would be, I mean, these are their values. This is the way they grew up. Some people, they treat very well, and I've seen that, they treat their family very well, or they have this priority, which is to be very human within their family. But when they go to work, it's like they don't, of course it's different. I mean, they are not family, but they start to see work as a competition and not as a collaboration, right? And
they are not team players. That's it.
Yeah. And I think that in life, the most important thing, and this is not for me, this is for every human. I mean, we have long past survival mode. I mean, most of us, that we are fed. Most of us, the vast majority of people that are listening to this podcast, they have pretty decent lives. I mean, they have their basic needs met. And I think that the social connections are the most important thing in dentistry. Of course, after you have the gas, which is the money and everything, the social connections are very good, are the most important thing. For example, I think that my reputation is the most important thing that I have. And I'm not saying this from a perspective of caring of what other people think of me, because I obviously do, we all do, and of course that's obvious, right? But I think that my reputation is my self-expression, isn't it? I mean, who is that guy? What do people talk about me, good and certainly bad as well? What other people talk about me when I'm not around? How is it working with that guy? How is it collaborating with that guy? Right? But I think this is something that we need to really think about more and more often. I don't think that, I think that the way that we interact with people and our reputation and what we bring to the table, what positive things we bring to people around us, what the opportunities for themselves to grow, what conditions do we create for themselves to grow, what advice do we give to them completely from a non-biased way. So if I have a dental nurse that I believe that the best thing for her in the long term is to stop being a dental nurse, or if I have a dentist that I know that the best long-term thing for them is to eventually open their own practice because I know that they have the personality for that, who am I not to promote that? Who am I not to help them with that? And because the more that I help them, the more they will help me as long as they are with me, right? So I don't think that there is any leverage on being an asshole to anyone. I don't think in the long term there is no leverage in that. I think that the thing of compound interest, which is something that Naval Ravikant talks a lot about, which is compound interest is the interest, the exponential interest that you build on having good relationships with people in businesses and in life. So that interest compound just grows and grows, and you can simplify that and call them your reputation. For example, if I have someone that everybody tells me that they are very good people to do business with, or if I've done good business with some people in the past, they will search for me because I am trustable. And why am I trustable? Because I believe that the best in the world is not the best for me or the best for other people. It's the best for both people. And for that, in order for that to happen, I think you need to have open and honest conversations regarding what is exactly that you are looking for in this job and how can I help you with that? What would you like? What are the conditions that you would like here to have to be improved so that you would be happier working here with me? Because I think that sooner or later, you will have people that stay within your practice, you will have people that go, you will have people that eventually agree with your culture or do not agree. But if you have an honest position and if you treat other people like you like to be treated yourself, and not to look at the money as the most important thing in your life, which I don't really think it is. I think that money is important, but I mean, there are so many studies that say that after a certain amount, it's really not that important. I think that good relationships and good reputation, this is really critical. And if you are a practice owner, I think you really should think about that and should see your practice as a place where other people can grow with your help. Yeah.
Yeah, let me just say something about what you said about, because I think that sometimes clinic owners, and if they are listening to us, I'm sure there's colleagues that are clinic owners listening to us. I think that sometimes they don't realize they are assholes because they are so into it's true, you know.
I'm an asshole.
Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't. But you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they don't realize they are not team players. Because running a dental practice, it's so much work, it's so much stressful, and if you are working full time as a clinician yourself,
yes,
sometimes you just don't realize that you are the asshole. You know, sometimes you don't realize that you are the toxic asset in your own practice. And sometimes there are those that realize, but they don't want to change because that's the culture that they are used to, like you are saying. Sometimes there are those people that, that's what is normal to them. And when we come with this kind of conversations, those are the ones that look above from us and say, they want to change things.
Yeah,
it's like they feel threatened. It's like they have their status or their ego. They feel threatened, and they resist the change. But yeah, I think that sometimes also the problem is that, and we talked about this so much, is that, I mean, a practice owner has so much things and it's so much work and it's so stressful, and you are also one of the staff working full-time as a clinician, that you really do not have time for this because, like you said, and as I say also, you need time for all of this. And of course, and you can say, but that takes a lot of time. But we are not saying that this should be the main focus of your work. Of course, the main focus of your work and in a dental practice has to be good quality of dentistry, of course. Yeah. But for you to be able to provide good quality dentistry, you need to lose sometimes with this. You need to lose sometimes to lose some time with building this team that is going to provide the good quality dentistry. So if you are listening to us and you are one of the ones that don't feel threatened by this kind of conversation, that you really think that you might change some things on your practice in order for you to have to build this team that we are talking about, because this kind of teamwork, it exists, and you can have and you can really build a team that will be an extension of your practice almost. And of course, there are some also, I already heard some colleagues saying, but then I invest and I train these people and then they leave me. Yeah. If they have to leave you, that's very leave you, and you will be the first one to support them, just like you said. But that should not be the reason why you should fear to train someone and to invest your time with someone, because I think that's such a beautiful thing to see someone grow and thrive and even sometimes become better than you.
That. And I think it's much more and more. I think that's the essence of someone that is creative, is to let go of your creation. That is the essence, right? I mean, this is the motto of Burning Man, the festival. This is. I mean, there's this big quote from David Day that I like in my favorite book, which is the Way of the Superior Man. And when we say man, we say someone that creates. Which can be either a man or a woman, whatever.
Humanity. It's humanity in general, right?
Absolutely. Someone that creates needs to be creating, even though if they are misunderstood, mistreated, and they need to be able of letting go the dividends of that creation. They need to be able to let go and to keep giving no matter what, because the joy is in the giving in itself, independently of what you get. So I think it's, if you feel, and I really like what you said, if you feel that what you gave is not valued, if you think that you are creating conditions for someone that will eventually open their own practice and copy your own concepts, if you fear that, and if you are not okay with that, if you are afraid of that, I think you are really missing the whole point of life. That's what I think. Because that will happen in everything in life, in relationships. I mean, I'm not a father, but even a father, if you talk to they will tell that eventually during adolescence, their kids will eventually let them go, and they will feel sometimes very alone with their kids. I mean, anything that you create, anything that you develop, even a relationship, it may eventually end up. And if you become bittersweet because someone else was not fair to you, I mean, you just need to keep giving no matter what happens. So if that is a concern that you have in dentistry, I think that you are really missing the point of one of the most important insights of enjoying life, is that you need to keep giving no matter what. It's impossible not to, in my personal opinion, it's impossible to live a reasonably drama-free life if you are always trying to make the calculations of if what you give is fair with what you get. I mean, if you keep doing the calculations, I mean, I think this is just a recipe for disaster in your life, because that will keep happening throughout your life. You will always have situations where you gave much more than what you receive, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point. And I also think, at least for me, this is something that I try to do, or at least I force myself to do. And I'm going to give you an example here. I don't think I ever talked about this with anyone, but this is something that I've been thinking a lot lately, which is, I mean, I love to write scientific articles, right? And there's a lot of ego involved, and there's a success, there's people that praise you and everything. But I think that, for example, I am at the point in my life where I have this feeling that I should help other people to write articles, other colleagues. And I may eventually write the whole article, but sometimes I don't want to be the main author. And one of the reasons for that is because some other people have ideas which I believe that they just don't have the written articulation to write the articles, which I am good at, and I can do that for them. That's one thing. But the other thing, sometimes in a group of people, I think that it's very important to give some people the example that you are willing to make someone else the main author of the article and let some other people take the credits for something that you did, without being stuck to that need of being the rock star. So, and this happened really recently. I was publishing an article. I was writing an article with a group of young people, that some of them that work closely with me, and I really wanted to send a message to half a dozen of people that were there, that I was willing to eventually I could be the responsible for that article to have been published, but I was not stuck to the need of being the main author. And for me, I think this is something that can, if when I was 20s, I saw that from someone, I think that would be inspiring for me. Because this is something that usually it's not seen. And if I was a young guy, if I saw that, it would be very inspiring for me. So this is something that over the next decade of my life, I will try to do a lot, which is to help other people to write articles and to promote their work and to dedicate myself without having the need of being the main author. So I think this is, at least for me, I think this is a very liberating way of seeing yourself and your contribution. And I think that in my practice, that's what I at least try to do. This is what I try to do. Even in my social media marketing of my practice, I try not to show up myself as much as possible. I try to give them as much credit as possible, because I would like them to be the best that they could be. And of course, not everybody has these views or the or the leading skills or whatever. But I think that if you see yourself as a leader, if you see yourself as a practice owner, I think you need to be able to give without the need of getting the glory of stuff. Because I think that's the most productive way of being a leader, is to completely keep giving yourself as much as possible without the expectation of getting anything back. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that in order for you to be a practice owner, you have to have the ability of not being so selfish, right? So selfless in order to.
The more things I read about leadership, and I mean, this is nothing new to you.
Sure.
The more things you read about that we see today about leadership, most of the studies would say that the best leader is the one that wants that is as less selfish as possible and wants about getting as much as possible. Yes, yeah, but from a genuine way, right? From a genuine way.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, and this is why I think, and I see this. I see this very often. I see that the rock star thing in dental practices, it can be very sexy, it can be very appealing, but I think you have a price to pay in terms of mental health. I mean, if you keep feeding an image of being the rock star of the practice and doing marketing like you were like, because sometimes I think that, and Bruno Ciabre was talking to us about that. So other people, they say, oh, the public wants to see how you interact, how happy you are in your practice. And I agree with that. Yeah. But I think that sometimes this is misunderstood. And sometimes we market an image of the practice that doesn't sound truthful, right? I mean, if you do poses and for me, I really think, and sometimes people don't like the way that I place this, but if you pose something that is completely fake with some stupid quote, and then ask you a question, oh, today I this, what about you? What have you done in this afternoon? I mean, I look at that and I was like, how fake is this? What am I here trying to do except trying to market, trying to sell something? Even my image or my business, I don't really find anything of interesting in that sort of marketing, right? So for me, I think it's really counterproductive, especially if the basis, if the foundations of leadership, at which for me are to be able to lead from a completely open way, if those foundations are not there, I mean, if you don't really assume the role of a leader, which is suffering in a lot of ways, this is why you are leading someone, right? Because you need to suffer. You need sometimes to carry them on your shoulders. You need to be misunderstood, but you need to keep giving, right? And it's not always pretty, of course. So I think that you should not. It's very difficult, especially for the people that do that, especially for the leaders that do that base their leadership or base their marketing on passing on an image. I think in terms of mental health, I really see a lot of issues there because it's not sustainable. It's I think that real leaders and true leaders and people, and for me, a leader is someone that you can trust. Real leaders, they really understand that their main work is not at the lights, let's say. It's not at the glory parts. That's not where their main goal is. Their main goal is how they treat other people when no one is watching. This is for me what leadership is. How genuinely and how much are you willing to give from yourself to your team, especially when no one is watching, and especially when there's almost no dividend that you can take out from that interaction. And because I think that is what slowly, step by step, creates the interest compounding relationships and will eventually provide you with a team that you can trust because they trust you.
So basically what you are saying is that it's, I mean, not you, but I think that what we said here is that it's not about the good clinician, it's not about the good team player, it's about you and what your practice needs.
Yeah.
It's true, huh? It's true.
So you have to do a lot of work on yourself, right? So the first thing is, who do you want to be?
And what you want your practice to be, what's your practice values, what's your practice missions, and what you want your practice to be. Mm-hmm. And the workers also should be an extension of that. Let me just say about what you were saying about social media, because I think this is a very interesting subject, and like you said, we talked about it with Bruno Seabra. I think that it's all about the authenticity, and I think Bruno talked about that, about if you train not only the dentist but the whole dental team for photography, you can use that also for the in-house photography and for you to integrate some images of the daily life of the practice in an authentic way, even for social media, even for promotion. But I think that if you do it like in a rehearsed way, in a fake way, like you were saying, especially if that's not the way that the practice works, and what you are putting out there, it's something that it's not what's happening inside the practice, then it's completely fake. And I think that you can feel that.
If it's made for the algorithm, which is very tempting. I mean, if you are going to play something out there, let's make it for the algorithm to have returns. But I think if it's made for the algorithm, I think that you are really missing the point, and especially if you don't have good connections with your dental teams, and if they see something where they clearly see it's fake, I think that can be a really disaster, right? Mm-hmm. Because truth always comes out, isn't it? I mean, the way that you are, the way that you treat other people, always comes out sooner or later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The same way as can be a disaster if you hire someone that is not a match for your practice, if you don't really know what you need and you hire someone that that is not the match that you need, then it can also be a disaster. And that's one of the reasons why, for example, some clinics cannot hold their staff. There's a big rotation of staff.
Yeah.
It's because they are hiring people that it doesn't fit the needs of their practices, and also because they are not investing the time that they should invest in building a team that stays. And when I think that's, and we already talked about this, when we talk about a team that stays, it does not have to be that the team stays the same forever, because people come and go. But what we mean is stability, to have stability in your team. That's very important in a dental clinic. Okay, so hiring dentists, go for the good clinicians or for the good team players. I think that we can say that you should invest time in the hiring process. You should really understand what you need. You might need a good clinician, or you might need a good team player. Don't forget that if you hire someone that does not have the experience, don't treat them and don't ask that person the same thing that you would ask someone that has the experience. You have to also remember that there are people that you need to train, that they might be the right candidates, and might be the right person for your practice, but they need that you invest time and training. with them. Don't forget to develop the values and mission of your dental practice. That is very, very important in order for your dental staff to be an extension of your practice and of what also of what you practice and preach, because you should lead by example. And I think, and I already told you that we should do an episode about onboarding, because I think that's very important. I mean, when you hire someone, the onboarding process is very important. And I don't think that there are many dental practices that have an onboarding process, but that's very important also. So, anything else that you want to add, Andre?
No, I think that you gave a very good summary. I think that good clinicians, you may need sometimes when you have like a more mature practice and when someone unexpectedly leaves and you need to have someone with that position. But for example, for my practice, I hope that the only time that I would need to hire a good clinician is when some of my already good clinicians, let's say, really decide to, go to another country or really decide to retire. Because I believe in legacy, and I believe that you can slowly start to create your own team and then incorporate less experienced clinicians to be trained and to be coached, clinicians and nurses and staff to be trained and to be coached, and to create a contact with an environment that can be inspiring and safe for them, and they really can find hope in the place where they work. Because if you take hope out of a young person, that's you are taking the happiness out of them. So I think you should strive for giving them hope and giving them a good place where they can look forward to thrive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just one last thing. If you are listening to us and if you want to learn more about this and how you can achieve and apply all of the things that we just said here on your practice, just join us on our Conscious Leadership course, because we teach you how this leadership skills, and that's what the course is all about, is for you to build a team of trust, a team that thrives and works together. And we know that for dentists, you need time, and you need also training for be able to do this. And sometimes when you are a practice owner and you are also a full-time dentist, this is difficult. But join us and come and learn with us and with the other colleagues attending the course. It's a very rich course also for the networking that we establish, for all the conversations that we establish, and this is I think it opens up a new way of looking at dentistry, because I think that usually the way that dentistry is looked is just by the technical part, and to add this human component of a dental team practice, I think it's so much. It brings so much colors new to dentistry. It brings such a new energy. So we invite you to join us in Sagres for 3 days of the leadership course. The next edition is going to happen in October. Just go to softbites.online and you have all the information.
That is perfect, my dear friend Manuela. That was a good one. When we start this conversation, we think, well, when we start this podcast, we say like, look, we have nothing prepared. We only have one title, so let's see how it rolls. And it really always rolls out different and interesting, I think. But it's always good. Yeah. Even if no one is listening to me, I always feel good because I am talking to myself and to you. And okay. Oh, that's sweet. That's so sweet. Thank you so much. But I always feel But I always feel that that the more you talk and the more you express yourself, the more clear you are inside yourself. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone listening. We see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Manuela.